One of the most DMs and comments that I get under my videos is, Spid, can you post your build, your SNS GS build? And in today's video, I'll be covering everything that I have done with my SNS GS build, going through a budget build, but also an end game build without Arc Boss and Nebula stuff, because let's be real, that's almost impossible to get. Like this build is just built by me, and there's probably other better builds out there for different things, but this build is overall a good build that I am pretty happy with. And I will explain you guys why I have chosen this build. So we're going to go through the gear that you guys can obtain, and then we're going to go through the masteries, and then we go through the skills, so you guys have a good idea of how I'm building my SNS at GS. So let's just jump into it. So the build that we're going to be talking about mainly today is going to be more of a GVG slash big PvP focus, because right now the game is mainly GVG focus. If it's bosses, or if it's war games, or if there's inter-server or any of these things, it's mainly GVG. And then you have large scale, which is going to be Nebula Island, right? Aside from that, I don't think there's any else large scale PvP right now. So the build is based off that, and you can use most of this gear also for PvE too. But let's talk about a gear and a build, because I want to talk about a budget build first, which is mainly going to be very cheap for you guys to use. The build I want to show you guys is this one right here, which is going to be of course, Bulwark is very easy to get. You can probably get it for free with enough coins. Same with Titanic Blade. Like all of these items are extremely cheap. This does have a level tier 1 necklace for now, and you can swap it out with other necklaces if you want to. I will probably go for the Draconic neck here, which is a cheap one. But aside from that, I actually am still using Collapse today right now. But this is the build. All of this is super cheap. The only two expensive items are the chests, Vanguard chest, and the Vanguard boots. Now, I bought them when they were pretty low. I think it was a 2.4k. This one is a 2.6k. But these are the only expensive pieces. And all of the others are like way below like 500 lucent, I think. All of these items. Of course, building the traits are more expensive, but this is the cheap build. And the reason I'm going for this is, with the Vanguard, you of course get your endurances. So you need 70 perception, will give you insane amount of endurance. And then the Eternal Warlord set is, these two pieces have actually one of the best attributes that you can get. If you compare it with like the Vanguard stuff, you can see the main attributes. You get hit chance, which is 80. You get weaken resist 106, which is insanely good right now. You get 7% attack speed compared to 5.2 attack speed. You get 5 perception, which is really nice from the Eternal Warlord gloves. And then the Warlord face guard, if you look at the stats here, you'll get max HP, which is really nice, which is more than the Vanguard one. You get debuff duration, which is good. We lose out on the collision resist, but you also get strength in here. So you lose out on like the fortitude, right? But these two pieces I was really happy with. And these also, the passive gives you an endurance boost on all your endurance, but not only for yourself, but for your party too. So if you have like players running endurance, which most likely are either your healers or whatever, you give them another endurance of 120 boost. The reason you want to build endurance right now for the meta and not anything else is because endurance, what it does is it makes other players not crit on you, and also takes the lowest base damage from the other players hitting you. So let's see here, if you look at my damage right now, I have 222 damage to 364. Basically everything in game get multiplied by this. If you have a skill that says you do 30% more of your base damage, whatever, is based off your damage numbers, right? But if you have high enough endurance, let's say my enemy has 2k crit, right? They won't be able to hit me, so they will do the lowest damage to me, but they also won't be able to crit me at all. So this will lead them to do really low damage to me, right? That's why I want to build endurance, because it's a flat stat. If you have less endurance, they will start doing more and more damage in between here and be able to crit you a bit more. But if you have evasion, if you build evasion, you have to have high enough evasion. Then they're hit. If you don't, they're gonna hit you. So it's I don't think evasion is viable at all unless you're running like dagger. So you want to be building endurance, main of the biggest stats. Right now, what they did with the tanks is that magic defenses and endurances are worse for tanks right now because they changed a lot of the stuff, like in the masteries and in the skills. You don't get magic endurances or defenses anymore. So you want to be try to build as much magic endurance as possible, which I have built through this. So if you look at most of my gear here, you will see that I do have a lot of magic endurance on my resonance effect. This is going to be unlocked soon. So this is what's going to help me with my magic endurance, but this will help you stack a lot of magic endurance because let's be real, right now the only thing that shreds me is magic damage. I don't have an issue with melee. I don't have an issue with range. I can go in a clump of like 30 players and nothing will hurt me except the magic debuffs and everything that mages does, right? And this is why I am building both magic endurance, trying to, of course, have enough defenses, endurances, but also weaken resist. Weaken, you have to either choose how you want to build. You're either going to build collision resistance or weaken resistance. You cannot get both of these. So you have to decide what do you want to do. If you have high collision resist, you won't get pulled around or thrown around everywhere. However, you will probably get shredded by stab players or curse bombs by one players. But if you have weakened resistance high enough, you won't get debuffed. So you will not get endurance debuffed. You won't get healing debuffed, and you won't get curse stacked as often. If you have high weaken resistance, you won't get slapped. So I am right now with this current meta, I'm going to be building weaken resistance because you also want to have high collision chance, right? So you can hook players and push players, all that stuff. So you have to decide how you want to play, but I would prefer weaken resistance right now because I don't want to get clapped by a mage player. So I have high magic heavy attack evasion, weaken resistance, and magic endurance, right? That's how I'm building. So a lot of the stuff you will see if you look at my runes and stuff, my synergies, I will be posting the build so you can take a closer look at it. But if you look at my stuff, I have both magic endurance and weaken resistance is the main stuff that I'm going for, right? So this is the budget build, the cheap one, and this overall I'm happy with the stats. The reason I'm not running high shield block chance either is because most of the stat players have high shield pen, so your shield block doesn't matter as much as this in T1. Or you could also run like a shield block set, which is Praetor, but I don't like the Praetor set. So with this, you have high enough endurance. And the reason I'm building over 2k, because usually most of the DPS classes is going to have 2k crit. And they can lose this if they get debuff, right? For example, piercing reduces crit on players, but you have if players are running daggers, which are in PvP DPSs, they can actually put a debuff on you, an endurance debuff, and you will lose about 400 endurance if you're getting hit by this, and this can stack up to 800 endurance. So when I usually getting the 800 endurance stack, you're pretty unlucky. You're standing in big stacks. That way that I will lose down to 1600 endurance, which is still not bad because they will still not crit as much. However, usually you will have minus 400 endurance, and that should bring you about 2k to their crit. So it will still be enough endurance. That's why I'm using more endurance than required because of the debuff, which most players are going to hit on you because everybody that usually plays in PvP scale, you either play staff dagger or you're playing crossbow dagger or GS dagger or spear dagger or whatever you're playing, right? You're putting these endurance debuffs on you. That's why I'm going to have high endurances. So this is the budget build, right? And I'm going to show you guys what I am aiming for right now. These are the current stats. You can get higher weaken resistance too if you do some tweaks on this. You want to kind of try to get even higher weaken resist. This is enough for like staff players, but other classes are going to have really high weaken chance and stuff, maybe up to 1.2, 1.3k, which you can get with my other build, but you can also push it kind of with this build. Collision chance is really good, 1400. You're going to be able to hook players, right? HP is good. Hit is really important. Some players or dagger players will eventually be running like 3.6, 3.7k evasion when they're using skills and stuff. So being able to hit them is going to be extremely important. So this is the budget build, and then you have my build that I'm currently playing on or working towards. So this is my end game build, which I'm currently building towards right now. Aside from the warlord pieces, I have the vanguard pieces instead to hit the 6042 to hit these nice stats right here, and also the primal ritual collar instead of the Clasp of Conqueror. And aside from that, it is pretty much the same. I will probably be doing some adjustments to this, but mainly the same thing. But you see the stats are way different here. You see my weaken resistance is almost at 1.3k. My collision chance 1300, high hit still. But you just get just this different thresholds with this, but mainly the same stuff again. With the other build, just a little changes to it and higher weaken resist and stuff will make it more of a stable build in my opinion. I also gain like more cooldown speed with this. If you look at the budget build in comparison, is 27. With this I have 33%. You see my magic heavy attack evasion is higher too because of the fortitude. Gives me both endurance but also CC resistances, which is pretty nice to have. But you can see like there's some small changes, but overall I get just better overall stats with this build, which I like a little bit more than the other build. More expensive though, unfortunately. Now looking at my artifacts, the artifacts that I am trying to, and I'm going to be using is these artifacts, which is going to be the 4 set of Greedseeker, which is going to give me CC resistances, which also works towards my weaken resist. You can swap out the ancestral armor for potentially more hit, which is I think is the Forsaken, which I'm not wrong. Abyssal, I think, right? Yeah, you can swap it for Abyssal if you want to get 100 extra hit, because hit you will be needing. Also, if you see on my Ancestral Solar Stone and Lunar Stone, I actually only have 1 inside of this because we don't actually get all those 3 stats. So a lot of people are building with 3 stats on this, which you don't have to because you don't get it in game, right? So this is the way I'm building my artifacts. So this is my equipment, and now we got to jump into like my skills and stuff. Now looking at the skills, I'm not going to tell you exactly how to run because I swap this almost every single day. Like I change this around, I swap it around depending on what I want to run, how it feels, how the GVG is going. But there's some main important priority skills that you need to have no matter what. Okay, and the main important stuff that you want to have is blood devotion, and it should be max because as a GS SNS, your main job is to help your teammates, give them damage boosts, take the damage they take. So blood devotion should be fully stacked. This is your most high priority skill. You should always have this if you're running any type of PP. Blood devotion is insanely important. Next up is chain hook. If you're using bulwark, you definitely need the chain hook, and that's why we have high collision chance. It's a high priority skill, so you can drag people around. A lot of maps in Talandre, they should drag people off cliffs, all that stuff. Definitely run chain hook. If you're not running chain hook, it's a big problem. So it's a very high priority skill. You should have these 2 skills for sure. Every time you run PvP. Next up is of course devastating smash. Yeah, with probably effect duration increase and chance increase, because the nice thing with having not enough hit is if you have a chance increase, it will add an extra chance on top of it, so you can even hit the evasion players. But this is a AoE massive stun, really important to use. It's a high priority skill that you should be having. Counter barrier is obviously one of the main skills. When you put this on, you get insane shield block chance for 6 seconds, evading shield blocking or blocking with defensive skill. Activates counter attack that deals damage back to the players too. It's one of the most important skills to have, so this should be high priority skill. And then you have piercing strike. With the really nice thing about piercing strike is you can spam it if you compare it with the counter barrier. But not only that, this skill actually takes critical hit chance below. So let's say you're getting endurance debuff, right, and you're at 2k endurance, or you get double endurance back to 800. You can use this, and has a 70% chance to decrease the critical hit chance by 250. So we'll take the crit down of the players in range, so that any melee players won't be able to crit you as much, right? It's a really good skill to have. So these should be your main priority skill, which is the blood devo, chain hook, devastating smash, counter barrier, and piercing strike. All the other skills you can use depending on what you want to play and how you want to play. Like I like to use guillotine to get heal reduction on some players, Gaia crash to do some damage depending on my role, right? But you can swap all the other skills out, but those are the main important skills you want to have. For the passive skills that you want to run is you want to of course run vital force. Gives you insane amount of hit, which you need. So if you're not running vital force, I don't know what you're doing. morale a boost, which is going to be this one. Colliding decrease the cooldown of your skills, which basically means when you're chaining players, if you have Talandre, if you're annihilating slashing players, or if you're pushing players, every time you apply collision, basically you will decrease the cooldown of your skills. So this is one of the most important passive skills to have. Resilient Mind for the mana, of course. When you shield block, you get your mana back. Really important. Eggy Shield, super strong, gives you shield damage reduction. And your defenses increases, not your mage defenses, but it's good to have. And then you have impenetrable armor, which gives you an insane amount of defense boost when you're using it. So these are the main passives that I would use. I would probably use Indomitable Armor too, because it gives you magic defense actually. But aside from that, those are the main priority skills that you should be using for your passives. Aside from that, everything else you can run the way you want to, the way you want to play, but those are the main important skills that every tank SNSGS should have on their bar. Next up, we're going to talk about masteries. I'm going to do the exact same thing for masteries. I'm not going to tell you how to build because I swap these around all the time, okay? Like, I change my masteries here and there all the time. I have different masteries for different things too, but just showing you guys my mastery. The main important thing that everybody should have on their masteries is, of course, on your GS, you're gonna have this one because this one gives you 2 perception, so 2 extra attributes. And then you should have this one, which gives you 2.4k max HP. You do, and you get the, of course, high heavy attack evasion, which is nice, but the HP increase, and this is pretty nice to have. I would also go for this perception balance, which gives you over 70 hit. Don't go for the resistance, unless you try to build resistance, but you want to go for the collision hit, so you can hook players and all that good stuff, and you get 200 of these. So this is a very nice one to have. I do like to run this one because it gives you a lot of healing, much better for PvE. But aside from that, these are like the main, I mean, this is the main thing you need to have, and this one and this one. Aside from that, you kind of also, of course, want to have your force capacity, Vita 4 maximum HP to 36k. And then aside from that, we can build however you want. Those are the main things for your GS. And then for your SNS, you want to have this because this gives you 2 perception, which is the collision intensity, bottom right corner. And then you want to have this one on the top left because this gives you 2 strength, which is the CC resistance intensity. You want to have this one, of course, life's bargain, which gives you endurance increases. But decreases base damage, unfortunately, but gives you a lot of endurance, which you need. And then you could run this one, but I'm going to probably replace this because it gives you crit damage resist, but if nobody's going to crit me, why do I need crit damage resist? You know what I'm saying? So I'm probably going to replace this because once I hit enough endurances, nobody's going to be critting me anyways, so I wouldn't need this, right? Aside from that, you can build it however you want. As like I said, I build like completely different, but those are the main I always take no matter what, right? So aside from that, you can build whatever you're playing or however you're using, but those main important thing is just getting those extra attributes from these things and having the most important masteries on these, right? So yeah, that is basically how I run it. You guys can make adjustments if you're doing PvE and stuff. Like the spin is really nice for farming. You can swap out your stuff completely for PvE to go more damage, get more blade harvest is really good for PvE overall. But the reason I'm building this way is, like I explained to you guys, endurance I think is one of the most important things that we can have. You need to have high enough endurance. If you have too low endurance, people are going to crit you left and right. Weaken, I'm building weaken resist instead of collision resist because I'd rather not get one shot than get thrown around. I can get thrown around, it's whatever. I can block some chains, I can counter barrier some stuff, but I don't want to get knocked around. Like, I mean, I don't want to get one shot, right? So you can swap, you can choose if you want to go for the collision resist build or if you want to go for the weaken resist build. But yeah, that is the main important thing right now. Make sure you get your magic endurance and stuff. Hopefully this video helped you guys out, understanding a little bit more of how you can build SNSGS. Again, you can either go for the budget build or the high-end build that I'm going for. And there are probably better builds out there or different builds. I want to say better, but different builds to prioritize different things. But with the current meta, you have to basically adjust to the meta, right? If the meta is melee heavy, invest in melee. If the meta is magic heavy, which is right now, you want to invest in magic, right? So It all depends on how you want to build it or whatever the meta is going on, and then you have to adjust to that. I will be linking my whole quest log in the description below. The 2 builds in my quest log, which is you guys want to look for because there's a bunch of builds. There's the budget build, the high end build. None of these builds uses any Nebula stuff or Arc Boss stuff, so it's very easy for you guys to build it too. But thank you so much for watching. Check out the video right here, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.